NERDSoul.
Woo! Ha ha! Late ill kid at OneYoungsta. Hold it down, bringing that street geek and NERDSoul. What is up, my people? Today on with another wonderful episode of On Screen and Specials. We're having a good time. Motherland Fort Salem has now finished. We've seen the season finale. Good thing it's not the series finale. But I am joined by two awesome people. I'll let them introduce themselves to my right or left because this thing always flips. Marquita Lestar, what's up?
What's up, people? It's good to be with with the streets, the geek street. We back in this video, back in this thing. I'm really glad that you reached out, so I'm really happy to be here.
Yes. And down in the center square, sort of like the lower center square or rectangle, we have Robert Jeffrey. What's up?
Hey, what's going on, y'all? I'm happy to be back again.
Word up. So, season finished yesterday. How are you guys feeling about the season or the show in general?
For me, it's. I mean, for me, I'm a double Dutch into this. This is my favorite new show of 2020. Honestly, I can say that, and I don't normally watch a lot of freeform TV. I might now need to, unless it was a couple of the like sci-fi shows, but this show in particular, for a number of reasons, is at the top of my list for just best breakout shows with probably the past like few years, 5 years. So
cool. Marquita?
I think I'm gonna hop on his double Dutch. And it's kind of like that's how I feel. Like I don't really know how to skip double Dutch, but I like the idea of it. I have
just
definitely
like
made
skip
the
it
attempt.
and you just keep
You gotta get your timing just right. And and that's how I feel about a lot of freeform shows. It's like I have attempted to get into them and failed miserably, get all caught up in the rope. I guess this is my first time having success, like getting in and staying with it all the way through the end, because I think the last one I tried to watch was Siren, and and so I was like, I know it's coming, but they couldn't hold me on that one. But this one, I was held. It goes. The show does everything that a lot of shows do. I like the premise. I think the premise is the plot's pretty original. While at the same time, it throws in some things that are like you're familiar with. Mm-hmm. And so I certain things I don't like, the teen angst.
But it is freeform, so But
it's freeform. This teen. I will say this is a very well teen show. Like I understand that's their brand and that's what they're supposed to be doing. That's why you have the lead characters are always a particular age. I understand that. Sometimes, you start to show your age a little bit. You're like, you get it together. Tally don't get her stuff together. She like bought her mama over to get into this military. Yeah. And now like the military isn't like fairy dust and sparkles all the time. I'm like, girl, what you thought you was going to do? What you think military people do? I just don't. And I think that's also like, because other people in her unit aren't struggling with that reality. They already know what it is.
Yeah, they got it on lock.
Right. And I thought it was like really ironic. But anyway, before we jump the broom, I was actually really impressed with the season, and then the finale. Definitely, I thought it was going to end a little flat, and then it did, and I was like, all right, that's pretty good.
I've said it before, and I might go with Robert. Right now, this show is probably my sleeper hit for 2020. It's a show that I saw the billboard for it. I saw the ad for it, and I was like, I don't want stupid stuff. It looks stupid. It's just three young girls like screaming at the screen. It's a stupid image. But I was like, you know what? Let me give it a shot. Let me watch the first episode. And I was like, oh, okay. So for the most part, they're playing this straight. Like this is like a soldier story, and there's terrorists, there's the government kind of beefing with them and stuff. They're playing this straight up. There is their melodrama, but they don't go like CW melodrama. So I was like, yo, I'm not mad at this show. And I should be, because I should be like, oh, this is horrible. But you end up watching this and you're like, yo, these girls, because since they're supposed to be playing 18, they're probably young anyway. So they look like kids. And you're like, yo, y'all are forcing them into the military. And you kind of feel for them immediately because you're looking at them and you're like, yo, you can't be killing nobody. Like you're a kid. And then, Alder and her thing. So I'm like, yo, this kind of has everything that you get a little bit of your supernatural. You get some kind of alternate history kind of stuff. You get your government stuff that I like, CIA versus FBI, but in this case, it's the military versus the U.S. government, and oh, and D for Moesha is in it. Come on, man. I'm like, yo. So I'm like,
very few caught that for real though.
So
we did. That's why we're having this conversation, because that's an element I think few others other than this group right here would appreciate. That's real though.
When she rolled up, I was like, oh snap, that's D.
Right. Yeah. And giving a lot of the same energy, right?
Yeah, yo, she was not playing. So I ended up liking this show a lot. There's no episode that I don't like. Now there are the times like, it's like, girl, you need to leave her. You know what I'm saying? Leave that girl.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that taps into...
Scylla is not good for you.
I wanted to point out one thing you said before moving on, that I felt the exact opposite about the marketing. The marketing actually is what made me tune in, and I was interested because yes, I felt the same, like they're screaming, but you got this like Motherland Fort Salem. I understand the historical references. And me being a history geek, I was intrigued. I was like, oh, what are they about to do? And they're in the military. I was like, oh, okay. And I think I do have a thing for alternate realities, or alternate, like, what if this happened and then it just changed our entire time flow. I'm really into that, especially when it was done well. And I will give them credit on, they did this extremely well with forming this new reality.
Even
I thought it was so realistic.
Though.
Huh?
Well, even in the opening sequence is dope.
Well, that's even, I mean, you and Mike, you and I have talked about this before. I'm a huge fan of sliders. The alternate.
Yes, I love sliders. Yeah, and, sliders was like family time at my house.
This is and all. This is a shameless plug. The Crossing, exactly like the series that I write, falls exactly into like the alternate history, alternate parallel Earth thing. So when they were showing the commercials of General Adler crossing the Delaware with nothing but women, I was just like, I'm here. I'm here for it. And then like the marketing, and then like, what if, rather than, the whole thing with the Salem witch trials, rather than subjecting these women to the most horrendous things that you can do, what if the U.S. government, being as conniving and sniveling as it is, utilize their abilities to win the revolutionary
you know what? You need to let us know how you really feel, Robert.
I mean, that's in my mind. I was just like,
just let it fly. Don't hold back.
Don't hold back. No, this is not the don't hold back show.
She was like, they were killing them off, and she was like, look, if you don't kill me, we will fight your wars. So it's weird. She kind of, because there's this moment where they talk about kind of being forced, and she did sort of lock witches in general into like a forced fight, like a forced servitude, if you will. But it was a survival tactic. She had to, sort of.
She kind of spoke on. She spoke for everybody she did not know in future witches that had not been born yet. Like she spoke on a lot of people. Yeah. So I'm not. That's what I also like about the situation. I think the struggle, the tension here is very realistic. You know, you have people in the past that have agreed to some very outrageous terms to save their neck, and they didn't see a lot of choice other than to do what they did. And you know, only once we look down the road where we've evolved as a society do we go back and say, I should have done that. That wasn't the best move.
You know,
that wasn't.
It's not like the U.S. government is going to allow you to renegotiate. Be like, you know, what? It's been 50 years. Times have changed a little bit.
Unless they want to break it.
Let's change things to meet the times.
Unless they want to break it. So the only reason they're even talking now, they are talking retirement. They are talking about maybe we don't need witches. But only after they feel like they're losing control and it's not working. It sounded like they were winning wars left and right, because you see the history. I also thought that was pretty cool if you're familiar with like your U.S. history and what that war timeline really looks like. It's got all kinds of like wars on there, like either they existed, we weren't involved in, or they didn't exist at all. So I thought that was interesting, like the term. And I imagine if you're the first persons to get witches in your military force, y'all some badass mofos. Y'all are tearing people up until other states, other countries. Remember, you know, it happens in Salem, so they're the first people to get them. So they're probably knocking people out of the water until other people realize, like, hey, witches have been military. Right? We're going to stop burning them. We're going to stop hurting them. We're going to bring them into the military. And that when you see the meeting of all the different witches leaders representing all these different countries, you realize like that what she started.
Like the G8 of witches,
of witches,
of witches, Nations or something. Yeah.
Well, they were, which was also cool because they build all this lore for you.
Yeah,
and I thought that y'all were talking about the group of older women around her.
Oh,
now as far as
the Bettys,
was it
Biddy or Betty?
Biddy. I thought they were the Biddies. But no, as far as the soldiers, I mean that's just a direct parallel to, you know, when we had the when they were basically doing forced recruitment for Vietnam. You know, Vietnam was like the last war where they could actually draft, like the draft basically. And so to see, and my thing is to see essentially like a millennial generation of children or of kids or, you know, young women being drafted into this role was very kind of eye-opening. It's just like you said, you had no choice unless you were a draft dodger. And rather than like back in the day with draft dodgers, they would arrest you. Maybe I don't know if they would kill draft dodgers, but in this world, there's a chance that you could be executed. So yeah, I definitely agree with that.
To make a point, like Scylla said, they said
exactly
they killed them just to make a point.
Yeah, and then for me, that's where there's no bad guy in this aside from spoiler the Chimera. I mean, and we don't even know what their motivations are. Like and the more I kept watching it,
I mostly felt like you could gather that I feel like because the things they revealed in the finale, I mean, they don't hand it to you, but you can get that they sound like they're people, right? Humans that don't have magic, that have decided that they're going to hunt witches, kind of using some of they learn enough magic, and that's why they collect their voice boxes, because they put them in those little boxes, and stuff it's like that.
It's kind of a take on X-Men where you have can't remember. I know people are going to be in the comments yelling at me, but like the new humans or the extra humans or whatever, the ones that use technology to get better than mutants are. So it's kind of like, all right, we ain't got magic, but we got technology.
Right, and that's exactly what they have. They're using technology to harness their powers, and that's why they say in the last one, like they're twisting our work. To use it against us, and that's why it's not all that effective. Like they can do the little sand stuff, but you can see it's very limited in their hands what they can do. Because if I was like, that's probably my only biggest thing about when you got powers, and I realize there's limitations, and I understand like when they're going against the spree, I didn't have any problems when they were fighting the spree, because the spree war, I think, let me see, how should I word this? I thought they were like equals. I thought they were worthy opponents. But humans with these faulty little things strapped to their throat so they can imitate you, and you knew they were out there to begin with. I'm just
remember, they were like the forgotten enemy. And from what it looks
I hate that because they brought that up. They had all the hallmarks, and you even had the spree say, "Hey, we're going to pause killing people, let you know that something's coming." Like, to me, that was so powerful, and how quickly, dismissive they were. Like, they could have killed all those people at that game. That's normally what they do. But I felt they failed to recognize the significance of that. I mean, that's a lot of people they could have just took out.
Yeah,
and that's what they tend to do.
The Chimera or the Camarillo, whatever they are.
It was kind of like the Camarilla. Whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
What's the Vampire Masquerade? I remember.
Whatever they are, they coming. And it seems like, even though they're limited, it seems like if they can gang up on a witch or two, they're okay. But when they have like military trained witches, that stuff ain't gonna work.
See, that's what I didn't understand either. Like, okay, they had 3-4 pilots, and I was just like, you're going to any enemy territory, and but you know what? Now that the frustration, I'm just thinking an answer to my problem, because I felt that was like revealed in the finale, because I was struggling with that. I said, you guys have abilities, you have this training, you have this power, you have people like Tally who can see what isn't visible to the naked eye. Yeah. Yet you guys are constantly getting the drop on you. Like, you're constantly failing to be a step ahead of your enemy, any enemy. I was like, but it looks like they've also lost a lot over the years by running. So that's why there's so much after this tribe. Oh my goodness, I already forgot their name. The name is not even hard to say.
Is it Tareem?
Yes, Tareem. There we go. It's not hard to say. And stuff, and that's why this group has been hiding out for so long, because it's either you get drawn up into wars in your craft, and you lose your craft because you start to focus, you start to specialize. And I think some of those more powerful spells aren't about like it's like taking the heart and soul out of things and making them generic, and then you wonder why they don't work as well, they don't sell as well, people aren't as lost in them as much. It's usually because you take the heart and soul out of things, and then it loses its connection and its and faded. But anyway, just let it go. I felt like they've lost their roots that way.
Yeah. Now, speaking of roots, because I wanted to jump into this, the thing that's really cool about this is you see from the opening sequence how they're using like matrilines, and it shows the people that come from it. And in the first episode, we learned that the Bellwether line was essentially a slave who like got involved and helped out, and I guess became historic. And that whole line has been powerful ever since. One thing that I really loved about this show is the relationship between Petra, Bellwether, and Abigail. And I want to talk about these two real quick, but I want to say this show might be the first time I've ever seen a mother and daughter, black mother and daughter, fighting back to back in a very cool scene. Unfortunately, what happened for them to fight back to back, but it was cool. Like I was like, yo, I don't think I've ever seen this. And I love action movies. And I'm like, I don't think I've ever seen this where a black mother and daughter are back to back fighting. It's bloody. It's sweet. It was awesome. But how are we feeling about the Bellwethers? How do you feel about the mother and daughter? The acting, the characters, any of that?
I'll be straight up. I've already, staked my claim to Family Bellwether in my house. So the closest thing that I've seen to that episode or that scene was in Star Trek Discovery Season 2, where Burnham and her mom teamed up to maybe science out control, or just the melding of those two minds. Two of the most brilliant women in that universe, coming together to fight this like larger thing. But that's kind of the closest that I've seen. This show for me has it's taken representation, like the representation that I want to see in genre TV shows, and like upped it times 10. So when you look at that, like you said, the family tree of the Bellwethers being one of, and they're essentially the Kennedys. They are the Kennedys of that universe.
Yeah.
They are that. Yeah, and they will tell you. And see, that's the thing that I love about that is that they are so haughty. They're so pretentious.
High Atlantic.
They're the high Atlantic, and they will tell you in a quick minute, excuse my language, a quick minute, that is who they are. And in shows like this, and maybe just show like television and movies in general, we are not allowed to be at that position, where I'm telling you that we are the best at what we do. And I love that, because usually it's a very like affluent, like people of Caucasian descent, and they're very stuck up and snobbish. And I love that in this case. So that scene where they were fighting back to back, my wife and I paused it and we rewound it, and we paused it and we rewound it, because that was really cool. So as far as the mother, Petra, and I think her name is Abigail, those two were well against each other. Abigail kind of having this kind of awakening that, things aren't as pristine as they should be. As they appear to be. Yeah. But their interactions throughout the seasons were some of my favorite moments. And I love just seeing Black women in this role, just women of color, because normally when it comes to supernatural-esque types of shows like this, we are nowhere in attendance. And I also love the fact that they never showed any Black males, for their family. There was that one-off comment where they talked about her father, and that was it.
Was he dead? Did they say whether he was dead?
I don't know, and I don't care, because just like Black Panther.
Well, no, because they went into the fathers of the white girls, but they didn't know. That's interesting.
Go into this. It's weird, but in this, like I always say that Black Panther, you take out any of the white people in that movie, and it still works. In this, you take out any of the men in this show, and it works. So it's just like, but I think I love the family.
I think they are living truer in some ways to this culture, because you can already see that, because I think women's connection to the way they think the goddess, they probably are referring to I forget the Greek goddess's name, starts with the H, but she's like the maiden, the mother, the crone kind of set up. And in that situation, you're a woman-led society, and so since they have a goddess, much like in societies where your highest god is male, usually it's the males leading and stuff, and you see that in their interaction with male witches. They're like, how can we please, and stuff like that. I was like, all right, yeah.
And I was like, so y'all just gonna get on the grass, like y'all gonna clean that up? That's just like it's bugs and stuff. Y'all ain't worried about bugs and crawling?
No, we just be out here.
You didn't have no beds back in the day. So like everything.
And I feel like they're creating so much of this energy, right? That's what it's all about. It's like a charge up, right? That I think most of nature is probably trying to get as far away from all that energy.
Oh, cool. Yeah, it's like we going back up.
Yeah, that energy is like, oh, there's a lot going on here. That or even the wildlife is doing things. I said, all right, I love this, and that I thought that was cool, because even with it being woman led, even though it was an expression of like women having sexuality and desiring sex, and sex that didn't have to be deep, and it didn't have to be long lasting, and you it found a way to still be respectful. Like it didn't turn into some male idea.
And it wasn't corny or anything like that.
Yeah, exactly. It wasn't corny, it wasn't degrading. Right. I find that, you can see whoever wrote this is either they are a woman or they did their homework to see what that situation would look like if women were really into that, which a lot of women are. They like to have sexual relations. I would argue just as much as men, but the rules of engagement for us are different. And me and Michael have had conversations on some of his shows about this, where that comes up. It's like it's just a different rules of engagement. It's never that women don't want to participate in that. It's just the way we want to do it. It's a lot different, and that's this whole culture thing we have in our like say the real reality is this whole like women are from Venus and men are from Mars. I'm like, how can that be if we're supposed to go together? How can you be like constantly fighting, and then like it's just like listening to those bro shows where they give like awful advice to their guy friends about like what women really want. Yeah, she says that, but what she really wants is you to do this really obnoxious thing. And you're like, but I felt so into those scenes. Never did I cringe. It felt all very lovely. Even when it fell apart, even when Tally was upset about, I was like, girl, you lying to yourself. Yeah, I didn't even feel mad about it.
I was like, so are you going to try to moral high horse right now when you're the other woman? Do you really want to do that? Do you really want to open that door?
She didn't want to be the other woman. I mean, like as soon as she came, the other, and I cannot remember the lady's name. She came through the door. She was like, she was like, no, and it's. The 2 episodes before, that he's been married, so why not just step away? I mean,
like, why are you acting brand new?
Exactly. Right, and she stays acting brand new. That's probably my biggest. Like, I understand that's her character, but I was like, she's the biggest old school name for it's like a Pollyanna. The old movie.
She's a Pollyanna. That's perfect.
I know. I'm taking it back.
That is perfect.
We was a Disney household when I was a kid. We had all the films.
But I love these great areas we get into, because when you have all these behind the scenes things going on with the Hague, with like the Witch G8, with the Warlocks, I'm like, okay, so the Warlocks have power, and the Warlocks apparently know something. Could they be corrupt as well? Because we know the government got their little corruption going on. The Elder, she got her corruption going on. Can we trust them? You know what I'm saying? Because remember when they came to meet, I mean, he was like, hey, what's going on? People got attacked. But he didn't seem too pressed. And I'm like, can we trust? Like the Spree, now the Spree is like, they're bad but goodish, I guess.
I wouldn't go that far. Yeah, you doing one thing to preserve yourself.
True.
Yeah, it helps everybody else. But that group, the Camilla, whatever it's called, is not coming just after the military witches.
Yeah, they're coming for all witches.
After everybody and their grandma. And I am glad that the Spree, and see, that showed me that it chips away because it's trying to start you off as the Spree are the baddie. Like the very first episode is you seeing what they do. That's your first introduction. It's the first thing you get to know about this world. This is what we're dealing with. And it's a lot of innocent people. You had a little girl.
Well, see, the thing is, now you wonder.
That little girl didn't survive. So they're trying to set you up from the very beginning.
Now you're wondering, because now I'm wondering, did they know that these people in here were Camarel or Siobhan or whatever it is?
At the mall?
I don't think everybody clear that they were all general public people, and that's they're
they were Christmas shopping.
Exactly. That's how terrorists. That's how terrorists work. If you target people, it'd be the easiest thing, especially for governments with less than solid ethics and morals, which are most governments, to find dirt on these people. If they were killing people for a halfway anything other than innocent individuals, You think the government would pause to take advantage of that and say, hey, they're killing these people. Don't freak out so much. It might not be you. Like, people are so quick to divide and split and say, you know, people who are victims deserved it because of X, Y, Z, and the third.
Yeah.
I don't think those would make very good targets, especially if they recognize the pattern. So it has to be innocence, and that is supposed to put you at odds with the spree. And for a minute, it did. I was really frustrated with their inability to get ahead of the spree. I was like, the spree, and I understood it in some sense because they're willing to do things that technically, as a government, technically as the good witches, you know how when you're good, you got to tie one of your hands behind your back to you know, be honorable. You have to defeat them. That was what was wrong with Tally. Tally's like, well, there's a right way to defeat them, and I'm like, but what if that way don't work, Tally? You really was gonna let that go?
Tally had that fire in the last episode when she was like, you puppeted the president, you sent us out when you weren't supposed to, you killed civilians, you knew all this. And she was like, well, I had to save people. She was like, well, who's like this puppeting the president?
With that flex, though, I was holding my breath because I felt Tally had just dry snitched on everybody in the group. And then when General Alder was like, you think you see everything, I'm like, oh, there you go. Put it on her site. There you go. That's how she knew that.
You think you see it?
And not because she was snitching on you. I was relieved. I was like, that's my biggest problem with Tally too, is she does have her moments where she has this heart and this fire, but then she starts fires and then it just gets out of control because then she turns back into like kitty cat. I'm so scared. What did I just do? Oh no, help me fix this thing I did. And then it gets worse, and I'm like, she never seems to grasp that she's quick to act and doesn't really think things through, and nobody can talk her out of it. When they had to go to Petra and spill their guts because Tally was just getting out of control, and either she was going to explode and tell everybody and their grandma, or we're going to go tell, you know, Abigail's mom. I'm threatening you. I'm putting you in a very bad situation because I just can't sit on any more secrets. When you really think about it, like, how many secrets is she really keeping? She ain't got no many.
She ain't keeping no secrets.
I was like, what secrets you actually have kept? I can't keep any more secrets. What secrets did you keep, boo boo? Can you name one? I don't think so. I think you have spilled everything inside you.
But they were serious secrets, though. They were like serious.
I was like, Tally is killing me. I was like, girl, you should have took that rain check that your mom was trying to get. And that's like the typical teenage thing, right? Your parents can't tell you shit. And then you find out like, oh, this is what they were probably worried about. This is
like,
probably why
we're going into the front lines. That's a possibility, dummy. That's what do you think?
What do you think? You know, like, when they were, I was like, come on, y'all. And then it would kill me when they got disappointed about not getting into War College. When all y'all been playing the worst bit of politics I've ever seen in my life. I mean,
well, see, remember, Abigail is like, I'm a bellwether. It's a lock. It don't matter. And to a certain degree, right? It is a lock.
She was good.
Yeah,
she was like, it's a lock. That didn't make any sense. Y'all wasn't like, Tally was flipping out every time something emotionally like rocked her moral core. I'm like, girl, you in the military, you about to have your whole world rocked. And then Rael, she was acting out when she got there. I was like, where the hell you go? If you gonna show up and just act out. And then like, you were upset at the end that you didn't get into War College. Houseway. When did you show up acting like you was a team player until like the second half? Like, people had to bend and force and come on, you don't want to go to combat. Like, if you had gotten into War College knowing that your mama didn't get in either, you don't even got any legacy whatsoever. You're on people's shit list. Oh, sorry, on people's list. You know, because your mom didn't marry there, because she did mention that the fact that her father is not in the community, he's not like a witch blood or anything like that, and married a regular. So I was like, you don't have the stock period.
Yeah.
And then you come in with this super
Because
bad.
we saw at the High Atlantic,
questioning.
they be matching up witches and warlocks.
Right, exactly.
You know, to get like a good baby or something.
They keep you like, get these powerful babies, you know.
A good baby. I know. Look,
you
guys,
know?
I'm just talking about the show.
That held back to like old stuff. That's
Yeah.
You know, they talk about that because people do regale their legacies, their genes. It's just in this particular reality, there's some foundation for it where that isn't true in our reality. Most people are like, you know, I'm a steamed, you know, so-and-so family, you know, I'm so-and-so, you know, the fifth. And, you know, and they could be like the crummiest person on earth and not all that intelligent. But, you know, if they got enough money and there's enough fame to go with the name, somehow
that's what you get.
We pretend it's better. We know.
So, questions. Since we talked about the bellwethers, Robert, how you feeling about General Alder? How you feeling about the general?
That's his girl.
Yeah, I mean, I love her. Yeah, I love her. I hate that she puppeted Cheryl Lee Ralph. But you know, she's one of those.
And the costume was like,
yeah, she
I know those words.
She said, "Let me go peek around this corner." Yeah, she's one of those kind of antagonists that she's not a villain to me. You know, she does, you know, the mustache twirling, you know, this is my, you know, dastardly plan. You know, she feels that she's right. You know, if you look at it from the comic book perspective, Magneto always feels that he's right. You know, you can understand that he and they're fighting for their folks. They're fighting for their people. She's doing it in probably the worst ways possible. And one of the things that I wanted to it kind of ties into this is, you know, Tally was clapping back at her hard about like, you're doing this wrong. You're supposed to be honorable. But Adler was able to show her that, you know, convince this morally high, you know, teenage girl that, you know, what I'm doing is legit, because at the end, Tally seemed, you know, okay enough to kind of sacrifice herself for the cause. So that's how strong Adler is. She will take her worst opponents and get them to kind of like see where she's coming from.
Because even Tally was like, I didn't know what else to do. You know
exactly,
what I mean?
and that was, I feel
like that's gonna. I'm gonna let you finish, but yeah, I think.
I mean, and that might come back to bite her in the backside later on, because, you know, how do you go for most of the season riding so hard for being, you know, so morally kind of top side of everybody else, but in the last episode you're like, you know what, everything you did was okay. I mean, that was a problem.
I was surprised that she did that. I was like, is she going to just let her die?
Yeah, I mean, well, no, I was just gonna say I ride with her. So, you know, I ride with her.
You ride with her. That's why you gave such a sweet interpretation to that last little trail of events, because I didn't read it that way at all. I was like, I felt like I think they set that up to make that like okay and kind of predictable, because Tally is Tally. She's always taking the high road. She's always doing the thing that is right, even if it sucks to do, even if it's going to cause more trouble down the road. I felt that's how we get to her helping Adler and taking on a Biddy role, which is like the worst situation for both of them, to be really honest. Yeah. And she sets that up by saying when they're still in the cave, you know, because I guess her sight and what she's able to see, you know, because they have some of those witches where they're just able to see stuff. They have this like kind of cosmic wisdom, and you know, when she is truly an older wise woman, once she grows into that talent, you know, Adler probably ain't gonna be able to tell her nothing. But until she gets there, she's really this wide-eyed girl that has this particular gift, and the quicker she taps into that, I think the better restraint she's going to start having for what she does. Because I don't think she has connected at all the consequences of some of her actions. Like, I don't think there's anything that Tally did in a rush because she just felt I just have to do this. That really ended up all that well. Like snitching on Adler. That didn't go well.
Yeah,
it didn't go.
It would have went well, but
I mean,
you know what I'm saying? She knew.
I mean, momentarily it went well at Beltane. Beltane. I mean, she had my wife got so tired of me walking around the house saying Beltane, you know, but it just she is one of those, you know, her and Rael frustrated me the most throughout the series.
Much. I absolutely agree with that. And frustrated with them.
And the one person that personality-wise I probably shouldn't have clicked with, Abigail, because she's so like high society. You know, I was like, hey,
that's what helped me. Yeah. I didn't agree with Abigail always, but Abigail was consistent. Abigail,
exactly.
I was like, okay, she's not my type, but she makes sense. She's not flip-flopping. She's not letting her emotions carry her into some ridiculousness, even with the loss of her very close cousin, right? And when she goes off the wheels, at least it works for them. Yeah. She beats the shit out of she beats the snot out of people.
That seems to be the word of the day between the two of us.
Right.
Yo, because she was punching her like, they were like, yo, it's over.
You know, so
and they're like, stop. And so at least that didn't cause any real problems. Other like it impressed them while they were mad at her for beating snot out of one of their people, you know, one of their own. But they were still impressed. It still helped them and stuff. And so that is what I was like. Even when Abigail goes off the deep end because she's in some kind of like more emotional turmoil, she still channels that in a way that's helpful to her unit instead of just catching her unit up all the time. And that's my frustration with the other two. They're always catching each other up or themselves up, and then by catching themselves up, they catch the other ones up.
Yeah.
I don't know. If I was Abigail, I would have went to war college. I'm sorry.
Just leave it behind. But see that still goes to her character, because even
it's true to her character,
because she was always about the unit. She wasn't about her personal career. She was always the one that was there telling, hey, we need to do this because we're a unit. We need to do this because we're a unit. And then everybody else is going off and just doing their own thing. I mean, she seemed like
in the beginning, she was about the unit because she needed to look good, and because the way it's set up, you can't look good without your unit looking good. So she had her own selfish motivations like everybody, but I felt that because she was true to the military, she is true to the sisterhood, she believes in the ideology, a lot of it, which, like, she's never surprised. She's like, you take orders, that's what it is, because she's so close to it. She knows a lot of the scary realities that Tally is just finding out about somehow, some way. I was like, I think if you were so jonesing to go into the military, you might do a little research, but clearly that's not something Tally's into.
It's one of those things that I think it was a kind of like this fantasy idea of what it was.
Right. She gave into the propaganda, the stuff that she's seen, because remember, she's lived this super sheltered life, and I think that was their way of trying to make sure she wouldn't go, but it did the opposite. You know, and that happens. I feel like I don't even understand parents, either in real life or in television, where they do this shelter thing in hopes that you won't go that way. And like both in real life and in story, that 9 times out of 10, they either go for it to be rebellious, or they go for it just out of curiosity. Like, it might not even be about making their parents mad. It's just like, I'm so curious about what this is. Oh my goodness, what's going on here? So,
who did this? Who made this?
Yeah, forbidden fruit. Don't create a whole bunch of forbidden fruit. Like, you didn't want her to go to the military. I think you should have been like real honest about how ugly it is. Like, show her some war pictures. Show her some people who got. Like, those things need to be known, so you know people die. It is not fun. You can go out. I was like, but that's pretty much, I do believe that Abigail, like, that's why she didn't leave him behind, because she believes in it. She understands that you're going to have to make sacrifices. And I think Tally just learned that, but in typical Tally style, her sacrifice, is impulsive. And I feel like if this gets us a season 2, that's going to come back to bite both parties on the butt. So, because they don't mix, and all the other biddies just fall in line, and I just don't think that's
she might. It might be a situation that ends up biting your girl Aldo really hard in the buttocks.
Right.
But I did want to bring up Anacostia, who's I've seen her in other stuff. I can't place her. I've seen her in other stuff, but man, I loved her in this show. Oh. Like, I mean, all the actors and actresses and everything killed it, but
very good, solid acting from everybody. I ain't got nobody to complain about.
The trainer / den mother / older sister / caretaker, like she took all those roles on at different moments for these, young women that are about to go to war.
And I have to agree with you on that. I was so impressed with that because there's a range. Like, I feel like she showed a range that's difficult in real life, and she had to pretend to have this range, know when to put aside, the hard exterior and be soft, because that's going to go further in this moment than being hard with them, like just knowing when to naturally do that and knowing when to push through with the toughness and say, hey, tough love today, because that's what you need.
Today is tough love time.
Right, exactly. And I never felt that she was really chewing first half of the series, they felt like she was like chewing them out all the time, just giving them a hard time. And I was like, nah, the shoe bit. Y'all don't seem to catch on just how much trouble y'all are getting yourselves. And it's not her, it's really you. I was like, it's like maybe it's that like older lens of y'all bringing this on yourself. If only y'all can see it, because they always have bad ideas and they can't be talked out of them. So I was super impressed with her, and how she got over on old girl.
Scylla.
What's her name?
Scylla.
I was like,
that's what I was on. When she rolled up in the hoodie in the last scene, I was just like, she was playing mind games with her.
Right, the whole time.
Yeah, she's still about the job.
Because the whole time, even I was thinking, is she?
It's weird, right? I was like, she had me going because they had this connection, and they are alike. And I said they are alike, but I feel like once that went down, I was like, I definitely felt that way, that something was up with that when she opened her eyes.
Yeah. And then, because you see Anacostia go through this awakening herself. Like, we killed those hostages, and it's like, I think with Anacostia, we got one more strike, because we got 2. The hostages, we killed them outright. Aldo was like, I don't care. I'll kind of throw, what is it? Is it Libby or Libba? Libba, I'll throw in with that, because that was one situation.
Right, that was all together.
And then the puppeting the president.
Yeah, that was.
I think she got one more straw, and Anacostia might. If she doesn't flip, she might just leave and go off on her own.
I mean, that's more or less what we found out what happened, which makes so much sense why the spree themselves is so impressive. I don't feel we should give that part away, but I guess we could.
This is full spoilers. People are seeing.
Okay.
We assume they have seen the show.
I mean, we've already done some spoilers, but that's pretty big.
Yeah, and it's called the review, so it's like, we.
Okay. I'm just making sure, because I thought that was a big one. I wasn't expecting. I didn't even get an inkling of that. I don't know if I was being slow or what, but I did not get any of that's how that was going. But when it did happen, it made so much sense. I was like, that's a great reveal. You don't really see it coming, and it makes perfect sense.
As far as with the mom, right?
Yeah, the mom.
Yeah, like when it was weird. It was weird because I was talking to a friend about this last night. When they were focusing they were hyper focused on the food that was being cooked in that broke down house. For some reason, it came to mind. I was like, that might be her mom. That just might be her mom, because if you think about it, like earlier, and the other thing is, she made an appearance in this episode, and her mom has rarely made appearances throughout the season. So and the other kind of twist, and this is my crazy prediction: what if Anacostia is there to join the spree? What if she's not there doing recon? She was just there to like follow her to find out exactly where they are. That's it, because you're talking about 3 strikes. Those are 2 major strikes. The biggest major strike being that she broke international laws by puppeting the president. And I think Anacostia has actually been broken to a certain extent, as far as her faith in the system.
Because she was crying at the window when she was watching it.
Exactly. So that's
women like that don't cry normally.
Right, and that's not a crazy. That's a crazy prediction. But on the flip side of that, she might just be, trying to do what's right, versus what Adler is doing. Before I forget, you wanted to know what her background is, and I know people might jump down my throat for saying this, but she's from the Tyler Perry House of Acting. She's from like House of Pain and a lot of Tyler Perry shows. And and I'm just
like I said, one thing that I always give,
jokes. That's not surprising to me. A lot of very talented actors work with Tyler Perry.
That's one thing
that's not the issue.
That's one thing I'll say he's good for. Tyler Perry puts a lot of actors on. However they're getting paid is up for debate depending on the articles you read.
Right.
But
you're talking about the writers who don't get paid? I'm sorry. That's another episode for another day. I love the Brothers Hustle, but hey, whatever.
Yeah.
That's her background. Yeah. She's done a lot of Tyler Perry and stuff, but I like House of Pain and even the Sage Place too. That's what I'm saying. But no, she's she's one of the best actresses up there. And if you watch any of the behind the scenes kind of breakdown of each of the episodes, when they're talking to her about her character and her background, she seems fully in her, and the actress that plays Adler are fully invested in they working off of each other. They say that that's kind of the most fun that they have when they're working with each other. Those 2 characters. But yeah.
They have that kinship. I think the kinship that they have is very realistic, because it's like kind of like a mother-daughter. And so you understand her loyalty to the military. I feel like that reveal probably should have signaled to Zilla that she might, I guess letting her go, you can't get over that. Oh, she's letting me go and she's about to send me to this awful prison and stuff. And she does it while Adler's away. So she's kind of like, well, Adler wilding out and doing whatever she thinks is the best thing.
Because there was a second when I was watching the episode, I was like, how long is she going to let you not obey her orders? She told you to send her to the prison like 2 episodes ago.
And when she tried to convince her that maybe they could get more out of her and turn her against the spree, she was like, absolutely not. Now, she was right. She didn't try it. She realized, and she's very flexible. This is where like being too much an ideology nut, like she clearly has problems with the way Adler is going about things recently. She's like, usually she's had to make hard decisions in the past, but this is starting to get out of hand. So she's trying her loyalty because she's really working outside of the ideology and the way the rules of engagement that she's built their friendship on, built this whole thing on, and that's causing conflict within her. But at the same time, she's like, okay, I'm going to copy some of that. I'm going to go a little rogue. I'm going to try to flip Celia, and I'm not even going to let her know. I'm just going to let her go. And it didn't even bother the mom that when she said I could let her go, I was like, that. She was like, great, that's a great job. Like, like she just bossed like that. I was like, really? Just boss? She got like number 2 almost.
Like,
you know.
Now I will say, when she was walking all slow through there, once they started showing some cooking, I was like, okay, hurry it up. It's her mom. We know. I was like, we get it. We know. It's her mom. And she's turning around slow. I'm like, we know this. We knew. Like the second they showed some cooking, I was like,
I was still surprised when she turned around. I was like, oh.
I don't know. Something inside
I did
of me,
feel
it was like
the motherly vibe. I did feel that. I literally felt that. I was like, oh, she's like motherly. She's like mom of the house. She's like mother to all
essentially
this
this might end up being some kind of like, Mama Ray versus, Alder kind of mess. But speaking of Ray, how do we feel about Ray? How do we feel about Scylla? How do we feel about their relationship? How do we feel about
I was
as a
good
character?
with the relationship. I just didn't like. We know Scylla from the very beginning was kind of playing her. Well, not kind of, but
that's why I was like, girl, you don't know that girl like that. Get away from her.
She fell too hard. I'm sorry, like that.
But I said, but that is young love. Period.
Yeah,
like,
that's that
I remember
teenage
my
love.
first girlfriend, and that is how hard I fell. Let me tell you, honey. So I identify for us queer people in the audience. I felt that. I was that's exactly how my first girlfriend was. I wanted to do it all, and nobody could tell me anything. But that's how everybody is. When you think about your first girlfriend you had, that's how it is, right? You're just.
I don't know.
That's why I'm like, I wish I had someone older around me to be like, look, bruh.
Right.
Yeah.
I know you think she's amazing.
Yeah. Even when they were telling her like she's killing people, Ray.
Yeah.
Ray was.
You don't know. I saw Balloon, Ray. No, you don't know what you saw. I'm like, ooh, she got it bad.
I call this the 10 episode Freeform audience love. The shortened season, we got to appeal to a certain age demographic love. Like, I just, so. You don't
think that's like typical 18-year-old love?
My background might be a little bit too, because it takes time. Like, it doesn't, like, I mean, I guess I can understand, like,
she found out she was a terrorist.
I understand this. Now, I don't know if, was this her first? That was my question. See, that was my question. And
I'm assuming it was.
Never suggested. Yeah, they never, like, with Scylla, they showed you that she had previous lovers. She had a guy. And so, but with Ray, they never sit and by her. And then, like, that's also another thing about being queer is that a lot of times your first love is college. That's when you get to be out and about. Mm-hmm. She comes from this small town. She's already a witch, and you also put it in the climate where people are kind of off. Like, oh, thank you for your service, but you know how everybody's like in awe and kind of scared of you at the same time. So I mean, if I put it in normal terms of like being a queer person in high school, you gotta be very fortunate indeed to go to the right city in the right high school to be like openly gay and have a boo thing. Okay. So I just think the chances of her having a love before she went to college, or in this case, basic boot camp, was small. Yeah.
Okay, so that I will allow, but I mean that I can accept.
Because that's why I was thinking she was falling so hard. But when I found out she was a terrorist, I was like, "Come on, girl."
Yeah, so that's what I'm saying. So that's what I was going to say. The other part of that, though, is when all of us, I mean, at least collectively, like when I fell into like my first love or first puppy dog relationship and all that, I wasn't doing stupid-ish. That's the thing. And when
people start coming and make fun of us, let's.
Yeah. So
like,
when
I wasn't crazy.
No, like I'm like overly cautious by nature. So if the person that I was dating was doing stupid shit, I would have been like, there's no reason to be in this relationship. I'm in college. So in her case, when people and her friends
being like responsible and mature, it's making us look bad.
I'm trying to be. So when people start approaching her, but in this case, it's the most extreme thing. When her friends start approaching her about, oh, she might be a possible terrorist. You see the balloon, and she's like, no, I love her. And I was just like, okay.
I was with you on that one. I said, puppy love's wrong, but come on. But that's like, but you've seen this before. You've definitely seen people who their new baby daddy, like, I know, you know, I'm from the hood, and like some of my homegirls, girlfriends, or boyfriends were doing things they ought not to be doing, and I was like, aren't you afraid of getting caught up in that?
Yeah.
And they're like, no, that would never happen to me. So I mean, the terrorist thing is a bit extreme, but we kind of know people who are rolling with people who could literally result in them dying. And they rolled in
people in relationships that know their spouse is breaking the law. Right? And I'm not talking about little stuff. Like
little
really
stuff, breaking the law. You mean, come on, you watch the ID channels and in the detective channels where those chicks have stood by their man or vice versa. And we're like, they can't
bury the bodies.
And you're right.
The families of serial killers.
Oh, you're right, because I'm pretty sure somebody told them.
That's why I didn't call anybody with those bodies kind of just showed up. I mean, it's weird, but that, unfortunately, that's people.
I don't know. I think like at a certain point, when it came to me in relationships, I was just like, no more DBS, no more drama BS. Like I like.
It was like that after my first relationship. I was we are not.
Yeah.
We're not going to.
I kind of wrote it off on. I was like, this is her first relationship against Scylla's 4th, 5th, 6th, or whatever, who's manipulating her, and then. Of course, we know she's spree as well, so it's even worse because when that boy ended up dead, anyone that wasn't in their first relationship would have started looking really deep into Scylla.
Thank you. That was my heart. That is when I had a problem. We didn't even get to Tally in the balloon. When that dude showed up dead and she had questions. Even though it was her first relationship, her brain was still working and she had questions. And I'm like, girl, if you got those kind of questions in your brain, why is this continuing? But I guess that's that puppy love thing. I was like, oh, you're a dope dealer. People think you can shot people dead. You know, the last time this kid was seen was with you, but we can't find him. But I know it wasn't you, baby, because you told me so. Like, that was that. I was like, I can't. I was like, I would never, but clearly some people would. And Ray was that chick.
Yeah. Well, I will say this for my wife. Lady Lisa kept commenting, and I started to notice it too. At first, I didn't really care, but I wasn't a fan of her hairstyle. Like, at first, I didn't care. Well, but the more I started to focus on it,
for all the witches, they all braid their hair. It's a weaving kind of thing. I know in subcultures it's part of. I understood that as like a cultural thing for witches to braid your hair.
So, but it's just the style braided different. I was just like, because at first I was like, I don't care.
They all braid their hair a little differently.
Stupid.
But we wasn't crazy about.
I didn't mind it as much.
A bit of like cornrow, like half a head is kind of doing the cornrow, and then half the ain't. Yeah, exactly. That was her. I guess her edgy, pokey. It's representing her rebelliousness. I guess.
But there's when it comes to the cornrows on one side and hair laid on the other side, there's a culture that works for
us.
And there's a culture that doesn't work for.
Well, I mean, Mike, if you
it just looked like she never combed or styled the other side. It was just there. Like, she didn't swoop it up or nothing.
Like, I thought she looked very much like Vikings. Like, Vikings kind of did their hair like that.
I can see that. Yeah. I mean, Mike, that's Leia.
Like, you got to get out in the world, Michael. You got to get out in the world.
Cause I was like, are you going to style this side or are you just going to leave it?
I think that's what made me okay with it because, you know, I still watch the History Channel. I watch like the Viking show from time to time. And some of the Guy warriors have a similar braided hairstyle.
Okay, cool.
So it didn't make me flinch at all. I was like, Viking.
At first I didn't care until she brought it up and kept talking about it. And the more I looked at it, I was like, you know what? I don't like it. I don't like it.
Yeah, I mean, you don't got the anything, you know. But I did understand that because weaving, I think I forget what this is like random trivia. I think I took a class there's a college course, and almost every college has this course.
Really?
That's called like magic, witchcraft, and something else. It's usually always 3 words. The words can change, but it's usually got magic, witchcraft, and then something else, or religion.
Interesting.
Or something like that. Because in some societies, especially older societies, and societies that haven't been touched so much by the Western world, that are still isolated, but some that have had interaction, their religion would be seen more as like the magic, witchcraft, either talking to the spirits of, nature, or they have gods, or some people do ancestors and stuff like that. Ancestors in some religions are a really big deal. That's where you draw your knowledge, your power, and all that from. That's actually very common with a lot of African religions, as well as Asian faiths. And so there are certain cultures where weaving, whether it be of the hair or a basket, just the process of it, you can weave incantations and spells through it. There's amulets created that way. We're weaving something together, and then maybe weaving around like a special rock or something like that. It makes it like an amulet or something like that. And the spell is held, is binded by that weaving process. So that might be why they all have their hair. It could be a protection thing. It could be a tribal thing, or it could be something like that. So that's what I thought with that. That's why I didn't give the way and they want to be distinct. So everybody has their hair slightly braided a little differently. And for that to happen with the number of witches you have on screen, to have any kind of screen time where you look at them long enough to examine their hair, I feel like you got to get a little creative. If everybody's going to have like a distinct braided hairstyle, that doesn't take a ton of time. Like, you can't do us where you got the whole thing braided up. So, yeah.
All right. Well, I guess we've kind of exercised this, except one person. I do want to, because I know there's tons of stuff people in the chat or in the comments can talk to us about, but Kalita, there's a couple threads that I think that this left, and I like that they left it.
Remind me who Kalita? Oh, yeah, Kalita. Got it.
That little girl.
Yeah, I remember. They don't say her name often, so I was like, but she's something.
She can just look at you and make the whole room shake. Like, yo, bruh.
Most definitely.
She was like, Kalita asked.
You ain't. Oh man, like, no, I insist. Because she was like telling me, she's like, look, you ain't. I don't care about you. She's so dismissive. She's like, she had a role like kind of like, I'm bad. I'm so bad. You don't want to mess with me.
Yo, straight up, I loved her character. But she also came back because of that dude in the wall and the necro wall. That's a whole nother thing. And we don't know how the Hague is going to respond to Alder puppeting the president, because they already said that the Hague does not do that. They do not play that.
Yes.
And we see that the general does have to answer to them in some respect. So,
it's not so much that they have to answer, that you don't want a conflict starting off. It's kind of like what Alder did is kind of close to what started off World War I with them randomly shooting this prince, right? So in this case, you didn't shoot anybody, but you puppet them, and that was like almost on the level. It's like a huge, like even Alder said, it's a huge violation, and you did it to your own leader. So I don't know if war's going to break out because she did do it to her own leader, but it's got everybody kind of like watching you and waiting for you to mess up somewhere on their turf. Like they can't trust you. There's questions, hostilities are going to rise because you already see there's friction at the table. So I feel that's only going to. Finding out she puppeted her own president. She don't care about her own president.
Think about this.
What about ours?
President D, she ain't playing. And like,
I love President D.
Because remember, the people that had the teleprompter were like, "No, what's going on?" So you think?
So they're going to figure that out.
Show her the teleprompter, and she's going to go watch the tape, and then look at the teleprompter and be like, "I know I'm not stupid." So something
in the second season,
they're
going to have to deal. They're definitely going to have to deal with that. Like,
it's gonna make season 2 so great.
Right.
There's so many random conflicts. Even all the stuff that I brought up has nothing to do with the spree. We still got Anacostia with the spree. She found out where they was. Then you got the warlocks. I don't know if I trust them anyway. You got the Terrene or what's left of them. I still don't
understand what they've done that's so shady. Like, I don't think I got into that.
It just seemed to me like they weren't. It seemed to me like they didn't have a sense of urgency when the spree stuff happened at the wedding party.
That's what I got from that. That's not their role. They are not warriors. Look at the paintings. Look at the leadership. Look at the language. Your sisters this. They don't see your sisters and your brothers. Do male witches see the front lines? You know, other than a power up for the female women soldiers. I mean,
okay, maybe. I don't know. It just, for me, I'm like, yo, like, they just attacked the High Atlantic wedding and you just chilling like, yeah, I heard something went down. I'm like, yo, ain't like, cause I feel like y'all ain't really bothered by this. And
right.
So maybe that's me. But to Robert, real quick, before we get out of here, what do you think, or what are your thoughts? What are you looking forward to in season 2?
Oh man, it's so much stuff to tie up. But go ahead, Robert.
Them kind of digging more into why Rael is like the Neo or the chosen one of this, this universe. Yeah. And y'all touched on this, the ramifications of her puppeting, the president. And I think
hold on, guys. I think somebody's at my door. One sec.
All right, cool.
And I'm trying to think, and also just even kind of the international reaction to them saving the remnants of the I keep forgetting their names.
True, because they're not supposed to be there. The Terrene.
Exactly. And they violated
also the international reaction of puppeting the president. Because if you think that ain't gonna get around, it's gonna get around.
Yeah, I mean, I think that, there are a couple of things, and I always say that there's a show. I mean, if you've ever watched Battlestar Galactica, one of the things that it was, the core thing of that was always the Cylons chasing the humans. But there was a lot of stuff kind of surrounding that kind of kept you coming back. So I think like Motherland Fort Salem is like that, where it's not just a story about the, turning witches into military officers. There's a lot more kind of going into it, and for this to be kind of a show focused towards like let's say 19 to 18 to early 20s demographic, there's a lot of like international politics kind of being mixed into the, kind of thrown into the mix. So those are some of the things I think that they'll try to focus on, in the second season.
What up? How about you, Marquita? What are you looking forward to in season 2?
Let me see. I mean, I want to know what the crazy power-up thing was about.
Oh, the fusion.
The fusion. How they
because at first I thought it was like Naruto and Sasuke, and it's like, no, this is like Goku and Vegeta, because they held hands and it was like.
Right, most definitely. So
except they're not going to scream for a whole episode to power up.
Yeah, that's much.
If that happens, I'm not watching this anymore. I'm sorry to your Dragon Ball Z crew. I can't stand that anime. I'm sorry, except the fights.
I watched it. I watched it at the appropriate time in my life.
Next time, Motherland Fort Salem.
No.
And then I really want to see how that Tally Alder thing is going to work out. I want all the loose threads. They got like at least 3 or 4 different loose threads that I want to see what happens. Like, there's not one thing they left as a cliffhanger that I don't want to see concluded. Like, I'm very hoping and anticipating a second season. I hope we're not the only ones who thought it was popular. I thought it was poppy. I think
no, they got renewed. They got renewed for a second season.
I didn't see. Awesome. Yeah. So I'm looking for everything. I'm looking what they're going to do with the spree when they find out it's like Ray's mom, and I'm like, wow, that's going to be what that's going to be like. And if I always forget old girl how to say her ex-girlfriend's name. Celia. There, Celia. Always mess up. I'm sorry. Scylla. Got it. Scylla. What's going to happen to her when they find out she's pretty much allowed them to lead, or if they're anticipating it. The significantness of like the mushrooms and what they were doing, like in where the neuro people are, and like what's going, because we forgot that she touched that stuff. Yep. And was doing something weird to her finger. And I know that's like a little thing, but
the necro wall.
Right. But everything they left kind of unsaid, undone. I'm looking forward to a second season, because that's what I want to definitely do.
Yeah, this show is, like I said, this is my sleeper hit for this year, man. It might be, a show that I was just like, I don't want to watch this. Fine, it's Corona timeline. Let me check out an episode.
Corona. Wait a minute, you forced yourself to watch this because of Corona?
Yo, because I did not like.
Corona allowed me to have the time to watch it. To be honest, I think if I had my normal schedule, we might not be doing this. Just because that's the good thing. I have all the time to catch up on the things I need and want to do.
This is definitely a gem. Kudos to the actors, directors, actresses, grips, lights, all that special effects. Because
I can't even remember the guy's name. He's I recommend, like, if you are big into the show, watch those behind the scenes videos, because they even do like a breakdown of the history of the universe. Like there's one where they focus on specifically Black people, having a large role in Adler's army, that, and for me, it's like I said, as a writer or as a creator, for some people, somebody to kind of put that amount of thought into world building, is pretty amazing. Definitely, I think kind of go back and watch that stuff if you can. One thing, Mike, and we talked about this, Picard came out this year. And I thought that, I'm a huge Trekkie, and I thought that was going to be my show of 2020.
Go in and say it, because I'll say
I'm sorry. They may take my card. You see the Enterprise behind me, but this show for me tops that. This show tops. It just as far as being something that's fresh and that's new, and something. And I love, I'm a history major. So the alternate history was also getting me. I love, like you mentioned before, Akrita, the parallel Earth thing. This has been amazing to me. So for me to say that I'm more excited about this than a Star Trek series. That's a lot. So I might have to take that off the wall now, right?
No,
they're gonna start selling the
bellwethers. Like healthy criticisms of fandoms. The fandom needs you. they need you to say, "Hey, it ain't all good. Not all the time, bro."
And this show didn't kill a Black guy in the first 2 minutes.
Okay, so it just I really needed to be on that.
I'm a TV show guy. You can't leave me back here. You gotta give me time. I have a lot of shows to get to. I've had a lot of shows to get to.
Picard did that first few scenes, and that was we could have a separate discussion about that. But no Black people died within the first few minutes in the making of this TV show.
And there's multiple Black women in a supernatural show, and none of them are the mystical shaman or something. It's they're regular people. Well, I mean, they're witches, but they're regular people.
One has an eye patch. She has
it's a cool eye patch.
And
she was like, I don't want
the story was pretty legit. I think the story helps make that eye patch make.
No, it wasn't a bad thing. I loved.
It was very legit.
No, I enjoyed that, because one of the things that, when it comes to TV series like this on the CW and Freeform, more often than not, there's a standard ideal of what a person should look like. And on this show, there were so many hairstyles, there were so many skin tones, there were so many people of different sexualities. It's just it seems like we were truly represented in a bunch of different ways, and it wasn't just one I mean, like, I'm a huge fan of the Arrowverse, but you know, but when it comes to the representation of the full range of Black women on that show, I mean, within that universe, I have a huge problem with that. At least with this show in particular, I can sit back and say there was a sister with short afro. She had an eye patch. She was very dark. There was, you know, on the other end, there was one that was of a like lighter skin. It was just, there was so much variety that I like that I don't get to see in speculative fiction, in period. And normally I don't mess with like the supernatural kind of witch type of shows. Like, you know, Harry Potter sometimes is boring to me, partly because you don't see us. And I love that the Americanized version of like, not of Harry Potter, but of like focusing on witchcraft is militarized. I mean, think about that. That's like, that seems to be America through and through. Like our focus is on like domination and world conquering and all that, but still we kind of throw our own mix on it instead of just showing these young women going to a school. You know, just going, they went to work, they're going to military school. They're going to fight and die on the front lines. But as far as you know, I love just seeing so many, you know, different types of Black women on the show. Like I said, going from D, from Alicia to, you know, the sister with the eye patch. Like I love that.
So, with that said, as you can see, NERDSoul Light is sad that the show is gone, but it is coming back. It is coming back, so y'all don't have to worry about it. It is coming back. Before we get out of here, to my right or left, Marquita Lestar, tell people where they can find you.
You can find me anywhere on the interwebs at Marquita Lestar. Everywhere.
And in the center square,
I said that wrong. I didn't change it yet. It's still a star got next. I forgot. I'm going to change it, but it's Lestar got next still. I've been. Let me not get ahead of myself about what I'm planning to do. I'm trying to use this quarantine time, but right now is Lestar got next everywhere until I make that change.
And in the center square, Robert Jeffrey, what's up?
I always tell people just to go to Robert K. Jeffrey, JEFFREY.com. That's robertkjeffrey.com, because my social media handles are not the same across all of Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
It's hard to do. You gotta come up with something cute.
Well, no, believe me. Like when I started using Twitter, it was more on this whole like I gotta represent my nerddom versus I'm trying to make money. So Twitter is always the one that throws people off. So I always tell people just go to robertkjeffrey.com and you can link to any of my social media feeds and buy some books. So because y'all need stuff to read over this quarantine.
Get your book cook up. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah, always on my hustle.
Gotta do that. So guys, NERDSoul, Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, podcast, Spotify, music, all that stuff. It's all good. Holla at me, we'll holla at you down in them comments. Motherland Fort Salem. Who'd have thunk it? Who'd have thunk it?
Wait, no. Let me say this.
Well, no, I wouldn't have thunk it, but other people were like, "Oh yeah, this is a hit. It's gonna be all right."
Before I forget, give Mike screeners of advanced episodes for review, and
some screeners,
like hook us up. Like you need to.
We're talking about this show on the Nerdsoul. You know.
Yeah, come on, man. Like, yo, look, hit me out with screeners so I can see it early, and then I could be like, "Oh yeah, this is dope." And I could break it down.
Put you on game.
So, of course, you ready to go? You ready?
Yeah.
You sure? All right. So, guys, thank you for watching. And from us to you, we're just saying peace.
Peace.